All right, I am welcoming Jessica Johnson to It's Funny You Ask today. Jessica, how are you feeling about this speaking engagement?
Oh, this is fine.
This is fine. Okay.
But I'm not like in front of an audience. It's just me and
I
you,
see.
right?
Yeah, so we were just talking, Jessica and I were before I hit that live button, probably before she was ready. But we were
No,
just
wait.
talking about her fear of public speaking, and I said maybe I'm a bit of a sociopath or something because I really don't have a fear of public speaking. I get afraid to get on stage, but it's just right before. I don't really sit and worry about it. So Jessica, you're telling a stories of you, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do. But what possessed you to want to, if you have a fear of speaking and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. What made you want to apply to speak?
Well, I mean, the reason I applied is to hopefully make a difference for other people. But as far as the public speaking and the fear, it's really weird because I do have a fear of public speaking. But I've always also been like not fascinated by it, but just like I would love to be a public speaker. If I could just get over the fear, like a regular, like paid public speaker. Like to me, that would just be such an exciting and rewarding career. But
Well,
so,
and you do, like, I would say every time I've met you, you at least appear pretty extroverted. You like people, you're very easy to talk to. You have like, you work well, you used to work in event planning, right?
yeah,
I
but I've
mean,
always had a really public facing position, and I love being around people. I'm definitely an extrovert. Yes.
it's just that like those two steps, the stage to the microphone.
hmm
Well, we'll see. It'll be really interesting to see what this all unlocks for you
I
because
mean, it was so bad. Can I just tell you, I used to
yes.
teach junior achievement to a class of second graders. And
Yeah.
before I got in front of the class, I would have like my stomach would get nervous and I would have like my heart would start racing and sweaty palms. So, I mean, I just think it's the audience factor. I don't know.
Well, 8-year-olds are the worst. So I really,
So critical.
I'd probably, I will say that I talked in front of my kid. So she'd been in 5th grade. It was before the pandemic. I talked in front of her class about our experience of the Grand Canyon. Just some slides, and my husband and I hiked the entire thing up and down. But it was more nerve-wracking to talk to those kids than, I mean, adults don't interrupt you like that, honestly.
They're just so excited to hear. I mean, I was always like, why am I afraid to talk to these second graders? But they were so kind and like excited to see me. And I could have said anything and they would have just loved, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
having me
yeah.
there visit their class and,
That's awesome.
who knows why.
Yeah,
Still
that's
nervous.
awesome. So what are you doing now? You've kind of changed roles a couple times in the last few months, haven't you? What are you up to now?
Not exactly. I mean, basically what happened was I was furloughed. I worked with VenueWorks in 2020 and just with all of
Which, if
the,
people don't know, that's like the largest venues in Cedar Rapids.
Mhm.
VenueWorks manages and operates those venues. So like the US Cellular Center, the hockey
Paramount
arena.
Theater, the McGrath Amphitheater,
Yeah,
and the I'm on Ice Arena. And now the US Cellular Center is the Alliant Energy Powerhouse.
oh,
So, so yeah, I mean, basically they're city-owned venues, and VenueWorks is based out of Ames, Iowa, but they have offices all around the United States, and they manage venues for a lot of times it's government city-owned venues, but or universities, that sort of thing. So they they manage venues. We oversaw every single aspect of operations. I mean, staffing, food and beverage, ticketing and booking, all of it.
that's a
And
lot.
yeah, and it was really a small team when you think about across the 4 venues. We had roughly not even 25 full-time staff members doing all of that
Oh
for
my
all
gosh.
of the venues. Yeah, so it was, with all the venues closing at the time that everything shut down, the venue shut down. And then long term, the events and arts and culture industry is not recovering as quickly as many other sectors. And, just looking at being able to hold those types of large scale events. I mean, we can have events now that are on a smaller scale, but when you're talking about getting thousands of people into a room, There's a lot more that goes into that. And when it comes to like the COVID restrictions, it's really difficult. Right now, a lot of those venues and artists are really struggling. So yeah, eventually we were furloughed first, and then we were eventually let go. Not all, there are still a few full-time staff on board, but for the majority of the full-time staff was let go.
How soon into the pandemic? Oh, what is that going on with my thing here? Oh Lord, do you hear that?
I don't hear it on my end.
Oh, okay, great. I hope it's not. Well, anyway, I sound like the voice of God when I first start talking. It's like whoa
That's
over on my
awesome.
end. I hope that's doing that for everyone because that's what you need to hear from me. How soon into the pandemic were you furloughed?
It was actually, we held on for quite a while. So basically, we were furloughed for just like, I want to say it was less than a week, and then we were brought back onto the PPP funding program, and we worked for, I believe it was like 8 weeks, however long the funding lasted, and then we were furloughed again, and that was in the summer. And then we were actually, so the amphitheater started to have a season materialized toward the end of the summer, and just with like outdoor events, and then the numbers were down with COVID, and they were just getting ready to reopen the ice arena after a multi-million-dollar renovation project, and the derecho hit. And so that pretty much took out the ice arena and then ended the amphitheater season, not because of structural damage out there, but just more so they didn't have power for extended period of time because you can't. Obviously, like residents are a priority when it comes to power. So yeah, that then at that point in time they notified all of the furloughed staff that we were let go permanently, and it was really hard. Like I can't imagine being the executive director. He's a great guy, and he did everything he could to bring everyone, to keep us all employed as long as he could, and then he was trying really hard to bring everyone back on. And I'm not envious of his position this year.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's easy for anybody to have to let people go. I mean, when you work with a small staff and you work so closely with people, if you're managing venues of that size and so many people, you become really close with the people next to you and the people that work for you and help you look good, you know.
Yeah,
And I can't even imagine having to make those choices. So
yeah, it was a really tight knit team, and everybody worked really hard. And yeah, it's just and I know some people who are still holding out, just waiting for things to be back up and running to the point where they can be employed full time again. So it's tough.
So you worked with CenterSphere for a little while, is that right? Or maybe you still are?
Yes.
So
So
CenterSphere is a networking group. You want to tell people a little bit because they're also I always list CenterSphere as in our resource partners because I'm a member of CenterSphere. A lot of people that attend are members of CenterSphere. I find it to be one of the most it's one of my very favorite networking groups. Between that and PWN, I feel like I'm really set in networking in Cedar Rapids. And so you want to tell us a little bit about that and like what you were doing for them?
absolutely. So Cenosphere was actually, I was just ready to join before the pandemic as a member of Cenosphere. And I had visited a couple chapters, and so it's a business networking organization. They're headquartered in Omaha and have chapters all around the United States. And we have an Iowa City Cedar Rapids chapter region that has multiple chapters, which are just weekly meetings. The same people come together every week at the same time and place. And Centersphere's approach to networking is a little unique in that they really focus on building authentic relationships. It is not about referrals or that quick like connection, but you don't really get to know each other. And so, do you really trust that person? How do you refer somebody that you don't really know or trust to somebody that you care about, or that you have a business relationship or a personal relationship with? So it's really about building that trust and building those relationships, and the referrals and the business are kind of like a secondary benefit to that. But it's just been amazing to be a part of. I was fortunate enough to be asked to join the team, and I'm just a contract employee on a part-time basis. But my friend and colleague Erica Olaf invited me to work with her this year, and it's been a blessing just being furloughed and then let go, and having our kids, they're in school one minute, they're out of school the next, doing virtual. It's been a year where you've really had to quickly pivot and adapt. And so it's been a great opportunity for me to be able to work on a part-time basis and still be here for my family, and just kind of navigate some of the changes this year.
And I'll say Erica, like, had the opportunity to work with her a little bit here and there. Gosh, my sound is something is so wrong with it. I can't figure out what is the matter. But anyway, it works and then it doesn't. And then it
To
works.
say, just so you know, it sounds great on my end. So
Perfect.
I can't speak for all of Facebook land, but
Well, we'll just figure it out as we go. But she, man, she is a champion for business owners. And she has been such an incredible support to me, and to my business and to you conferences. And she's been on our stage. She's taught breakout sessions. She's attended. She's shared the event, connected me with all kinds of people. And I cannot say enough about Erica at Center Sphere and the amount of support I've had. So I can imagine that was pretty similar for you in working with them on a corporate level, even as a contract employee or whatever.
Absolutely. And I have to be honest, one of the biggest benefits to the position is being able to work with Erica, on a regular basis. I mean, she really is amazing, and she really cares about people and about empowering other people and just helping other people, reach that next level or attain their goals. And it's, yeah, she would describe herself, not, she would describe another person like her as a bucket filler, but she really is a bucket filler. I mean, she's just, so great to be around and work with. So sounds cliche, but I've been truly blessed to be able to work with her this year.
Yeah, she's really great. And like I said, she's done such an awesome job of helping to promote you conferences and what we're doing. And I really can't say enough. So I was not surprised when I didn't know if you guys knew each other beforehand, but I wasn't surprised to see you guys working together through Center Sphere. And I've loved all the things that you guys have brought to our chapters. And I guess if you're listening to this and you're look up to see if you have a local Center Sphere chapter and go sneak into one of those networking sessions, like Jessica said, they're every week, same place. And a lot of times you can join as a guest. You just contact the local person and they'll get you connected. And they are so welcoming when you show up to one of those.
Oh, yeah. So. We have an in-person event actually coming up Friday, April 2nd. We are going to kind of ease our way into in-person networking. So that one is open to everyone. We welcome guests to check us out, but it's from 7:30 to 9:30 at Hydrangea Bloom, the new location in North Liberty, on Friday, April 2nd. So Coffee and Connections, come check us out.
I will definitely go. I don't know for sure if I'll be there, but I'm going to try because I know I'm leaving town that day. But anyway, I'm going to try.
Pop in. Open house style, so there's lots of room for social distancing and all that. We'll have safety, COVID safety guidelines in place, but yeah, anytime between 7:30 and 9:30, even if it's just 10 minutes.
I really want to see her new location. I have been following her journey over there at Hydrangea Bloom since the beginning. Actually, I did when Center Sphere has like speed networking, kind of like speed dating, but speed networking over Zoom. I love those events, by the way. Keep having them. I love to attend them on Zoom. I think it's a great opportunity to meet people and not leave my house. I enjoy not leaving my house. I know some people are really missing it, but I enjoy it. Anyway,
it's pros and cons.
Yeah. And I got to talk to her and just really loved seeing what she was up to and congratulating her on that new business space. It's really, it's in the old Cafe Muse space and right there on when you go into North Liberty from 380, it's really awesome.
It's so really gorgeous. I feel like everything she does is beautiful.
So
like her flower bouquets are like the most beautiful flower bouquets I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Her space is gorgeous. Like it's just
she's
amazing.
Awesome. But you have a new role outside of your Center Sphere role too, right? So tell us what else you're up to.
So, and that I haven't started yet, but I am starting a new position with Acumen Advisors on April 1st. I'm really excited about that. It's been the biggest lead up to a position ever because they're very proactive about their hiring. And so I actually accepted the position in December. So I've had lots of time to prepare. Yeah. So I'll be an advisor. So they are basically a health benefits consulting company. They're a little bit unique in that they only focus on health benefits, and they work with businesses only. So they provide health benefit solutions. This is something I've never done before.
I was
Like
gonna
literally right now, I'm studying to take my life and health exam to get my license. I've never done anything like this before. But yeah, so it's a new adventure.
But
Starting in
sales is in your
February.
wheelhouse, and you know, understanding how people work, and you know, you've got some HR background with having to work. Yeah, you know, even if your title wasn't HR at Venue Works, you were working with so many different people all the time to make an event happen. So, I mean, I feel like you'll fit into that role really quickly. Are you excited to start something new, or is it
Oh yeah,
scary? How do you feel about it?
all of that. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because most of my background has been in nonprofit. I mean, VenueWorks was for a private company, but it felt very nonprofity, and then I'm working with like cultural venues, and it's for government. You know, they're government owned, so it's kind of the same thing. Like, you know, we never had a lot of big budget or anything like that. But yeah, it's definitely completely out of my comfort zone. And it is, I mean, what really attracted me to it was the team, the people, you know, being able to work again with people. I mean, I'm just, yeah, very people person, people oriented, but it's, you know, they have a great team and they have a great culture, and they really work to like empower the companies, their clients that they work with, by educating them. And just because health benefits are like a huge part of your company, right? They're a huge expense. They're a really big part of like attracting and retaining talent. And so, you know, if you don't understand and you're not maybe in the best situation for your benefits, I mean, that can cost you a lot of money. That can cost you a lot of uh, heartache, for lack of a better term. So it's, you know, just being able to, number one, empower the clients, and then they work with them and they provide customer service like all the way. And I mean, as long as they're working with them for the product, and right down to the individual employees. So it's, I don't know, I'm excited about it, but yeah, it's definitely very scary. It's, you know, not something I've done before, and it's kind of funny. There are a couple opportunities that have come up since I've accepted the position, and they're very much in my comfort zone, you know, in the nonprofit background. And just like, you know, I need to really, I mean, I think it's important to recognize that sometimes you have patterns and you continue to do the same old thing because it's safe. You know, you'll be good at it, right? Like, I don't know if I'm going to be good at this, but I am going to give it 200%, and just have a little faith. And
I mean, at the end of the day, you've got great benefits, first of all. So that's probably awesome. And second of all, at the end of the day, I mean, even if it's something you don't do the rest of your life, I can only imagine what you'll take away that will take you to the next step, which, you know, also gets me thinking about with like, you know, you being a part of the conference, you're not an entrepreneur, and we definitely target entrepreneurs or people that work with entrepreneurs or people that are, you know, in sales or entrepreneurial minded in some way, where, you know, there's a lot of hustle and grind and not a lot of crowns to be given out. I guess, you know, not a lot of blue ribbons. So I'm excited to have you a part of that, because we do want to be sure that we're represented. You know, it's not just for entrepreneurs or not just for people that work in this way. I mean, that like, you still need that support and the network. And obviously you're providing a benefit to businesses, which small business owner, that's the first reason people don't start a business is, what would I do? How would I insure myself and my employees? How would I do that? And it's a big question mark. So I think it's great that you're learning that stuff, and you already have all these connections in the community and all of that. So yeah. So, okay. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Tell me a little bit, like, what's life like for you outside of work and networking, and what's life for you like at home? Tell us about your family.
well, it's been interesting this last year. I mean, we've spent more time at home than ever before. I mean, like everybody else has, you know, obviously. But you know, I mean, I have 3 kids. My oldest is actually she is 22, which is like mind blowing because she's the same age that I was when I had her now. So it's like, whoa. But she is at Dominican University in River Forest, Illinois. It's her senior year. So crazy. And then I have 2 more little kiddos at home. Sienna is 9 and she is in 4th grade. And then Gabe is 6 and he's in kindergarten. And we are all, I mean, I have a part-time job. I'm not technically full-time working, but we're all working from home. Like Kevin, my husband, he works with Collins Aerospace, and they don't even know when they're going back to the office. So yeah, it's been definitely interesting. Yeah, what a year.
I have been so lucky. My husband does not work here at my house. My kids have been homeschooled on and off. Not homeschooled. No, I'm not in charge of any curriculum. Let me be clear. They are schooling at home, and someone tells them what to do. And I just hope that they figure it out because they're older. They're 12 and 14, so they kind of don't need me a lot. Thank God. All of you with the younger kids, I'm like, oh, are you okay? Do you need something? It's hard. It is not easy. And my husband's had to be at work. He's got a B2B business that he can't do his job from home, period. It's just not possible.
And I
So
just
he's had
wonder,
to,
like, how do families do that when both parents are in that situation and they have young kids? Like, what in the world? How are you supposed to
I
do
have
that?
really no, no, I have no idea. I have no idea how they're making it work. I guess I don't know a lot of people that are in that situation, to be honest. Like most people, somebody ends up working from home or grandma, I guess, can kind of take over, but it's hard. It's not easy. So you kind of have two sets of kids then, you did it once.
Yeah.
The person I talked to, Sherry Zievenbergen, her interview that I did with her on the podcast was great. And she's in the same situation. Her stepson's 25 and her kids are 7 and 9. So she's like doing it all
So
over
we
again.
just met like a couple weeks ago at a Center Sphere networking event
Yeah.
and connected over that fact that there just aren't a lot of people that we know that can relate to like that huge age gap and like having kids on like, such broad age ranges. And so anyways, we totally connected over that. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's hilarious. She is so much fun. I really enjoyed getting to know her. But I have a similar situation. I don't have two sets of kids, but I'm the older sibling with a 13 year. I have my sister's 13 years younger than me.
Okay.
So from a sibling's point of view, it's different and weird. I have siblings close to my age, and then my baby sister is super young, and she definitely grew up with two parents. Do you feel like you've gone through two complete, like different parenting styles?
Yes, when you're young, you're like so. I don't know. Well, first of all, like, everything had to be super clean and sterile and like perfect. And like, I was worried about every single thing. I was also very concerned about like what other people would think, like, blah, blah, blah. Like now it's just like, I know what's best for my children and my family and sure it doesn't hurt. And you know what I mean? Just like some of those little things that just make a really big difference though, throughout the day when you're trying to like manage everything and take care of your kids. And yeah, I definitely worry a lot less about like what other people think, and focus a lot more on like our family and just, what I know to be best as a mom. I think when you're young, sometimes you ignore like those, I don't know, like your gut instincts, which as a mom, can be spot on most of the time. And, just, I don't know. Anyway, some of the
You
little
never
things.
learn to trust, yeah, you don't learn to trust your instincts in your early 20s. Somebody's always told you your whole life you're probably wrong anyway, I feel like. So, you second guess everything, and you don't even want to deal with people telling you you're doing something wrong. So you seek out their approval so you don't have to. And by the time you're older, you're like, yeah, deal with it. The 5-second rule works for me. And
Yep.
I don't really care if you're having chicken nuggets for the fourth day in a row. You will not die.
Exactly. Yeah. Food choices. And there's so many things I'm like so far, like, just complete opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of like being uptight or like being laid back and just, I guess it's also you realize there are bigger things to worry about. And you know what I mean? It's not gonna be the end of the day if like, yeah, eat a French fry or whatever. I don't know.
Whatever it is, we all have those things. And I don't have my own children, but watching my sisters have kids and how much we've all kind of lightened up over the years. And now the younger ones are pretty much raising themselves. We're like, yep, you can use the bathroom, you can make a sandwich, you'll be fine. You won't die. You're fine.
To be honest, that's so much better. I think the one thing I tried so hard to get everything right with Madison and be a good mom. And I think the one thing that I didn't realize as I was doing it, but now I see in hindsight is like I did too much for her. Like I didn't let her do enough for herself. And so now, you know what I mean? I'm like, some of the things that she doesn't know how to do. And I'm just like, how do you not? You're 22 years old, and but I think looking back, I did way too much for her. Like, I mean, that's one lesson I'm definitely like aware of and taking into this with the younger two is trying to just get them to be more independent at a younger age. Really across the board, I think that can't go wrong that way.
I really noticed the difference with my stepkids, the way that their mom does things for them versus the way that I do things for them. And a lot of it has to do with, I never had my own kids. And I have said since they were literally 4 years old, I've said, I will wash your clothes when I wear them. So you're learning to do your laundry. And people would, like when they were 6 years old, they're fully doing their laundry. Sometimes we have to help them get it out of the wash machine or the dryer because they were too little, but pushing the buttons, adding the detergent, all these things. And people were like, really? Like at 6, you trust them with that? I mean, we're watching, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, well, listen, I didn't sign up to do laundry for 4 people. This is not when I got into my lifetime, into my 30s, I was like, already had never done any of that. I wasn't starting then.
Right. That's a
And
lot of
so
laundry.
yeah, and it's amazing to me though, like what kids really are capable of.
Right.
Um, and I give the girls a hard time, and I tell them there's nothing wrong. Your mom should do whatever she wants to do. She's your mom. She should do whatever she wants to do for you or whatever. But I've like, hey, you know whose house you're at now? Like the dishes go in the dishwasher, and I'm like,
Right.
if you just helped your mom out more, then it wouldn't be foreign every time you come home here. So maybe you should help your mom out more, and then we wouldn't have to go through this again. But I doubt it because they're kids and they just don't,
Right.
they're just not
But
gonna.
seriously though, like just those little things, I mean, I think that that's like huge. I mean, because then when they get older, I don't know, they're just used to like having all that done for them and, I think
Yeah.
it's harder to learn when you're older.
Yeah, my stepmother, so she raised us, us older. There's 3 of us that are older, and then she had the daughter 13 years later. But she kind of did it the opposite. I think partly because it was her own child. But when she had a house of 4 kids, so 6 people, house of 6, she was like doing. We all spread the chores out. But by the time the youngest one got to be, in junior high, everybody else is all out of the house. Everybody's, well, gosh, even before junior high, she was probably in 4th or 5th grade by the time everybody's out of the house, and moved on to college and different things. And so it was like super easy for her to do stuff for my littlest sister. Like by then it was like, well, this is nothing. This is no work whatsoever. And so when Brooke went to college, I will never forget when her boyfriend called me up and was like, why does this kid not know how to do laundry? And I was like, got me. I did it my entire life. Like, I don't know what kind of life I mean, she graduated preschool the day I graduated high school. So we really did not grow up together at all. Like, not at all.
That's
So that's
uh,
probably what your
you
youngest and
probably
oldest.
have, like memories and things, right? Like, I mean, even if you weren't like on the same path at the same time, I feel like, it's hard because yeah, you're not as close in some aspects, but I think sometimes when I see the kids together and when Maddie's home for whatever summer break or the holidays or whatever, it's just like really cool to see how they do connect.
Oh, and we are super close. She's getting married in September, and I'm her matron of honor, and she laughs at me all the time because I'm the matron, because I'm an old lady, and she gives me a hard time that I'm, the oldest bridesmaid ever, and all this other stuff, because, by the time, well, and she had to postpone her wedding several times because of the pandemic, and, is finally going through with it. And she's like, gosh, you just keep getting older every time. I was supposed to be 40 when she got married. Now I'm going to be almost 43. So it's like, and let me tell you, I got to do something about that dress because it sure don't fit right now.
Oh, God. Hopefully you didn't start that process before the pandemic.
Oh, yes. The whole process was started before the pandemic. She was supposed to get married in July of 2020.
I mean, does
And
any
so,
bridesmaid fit their dress right now?
yes, because my other sisters are dumb. So, or maybe I'm the dumb one. I don't know. But yeah, so and her fiance is Jordanian. And so they are having like this big fancy to do in Chicago. And, just having a smaller wedding wasn't going to happen. So I know you can relate, having worked for Venue Works, those big cultural, yeah. I am very
It'll be
excited
fun though.
about it. It's gonna
So
be.
were they able to figure out a new date with like all the moving
I
targets
think,
or?
I think they moved it twice, and so now it'll be September of this year, and they're just, crossing their fingers that everything will be lifted enough that they're able to. I think they can have it in person as of right now, but she's like, watch, the spring breakers are going to ruin it, bringing back all the COVID from Florida. Like, whoops. So yeah, I don't know, but it is really interesting having siblings that far apart. And I think the older sibling has to work harder to remain close to the younger ones, especially as they go through like junior high, high school. That was the hardest time to remain close to her because she's a
You're so
teenager.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah, and teenagers are just very selfish, and I mean, I'm sure that I don't have a teenage audience, but if they are, they don't mean to be. It's inherent. It's just
Yeah.
part of it, and so yeah, that was harder. But when you're in your early 20s and you're out and about, and your like 8-year-old little sister is wanting to hang out, it's like, okay, she kind of grew up more like a niece, I guess, sort of, but still a sibling. So definitely not a niece situation. But
Well, it's
anyway,
funny
so
that when you get older, then I feel like, the age difference isn't quite as,
yeah. I
quite as
still
big.
notice it in funny things like what you were saying earlier about caring more when you're younger. I mean, she cares so much more about what people think, and I've just like don't really anymore. And she'll show me like flower arrangements and stuff and say, "Well, what do you think like with this candle or that candle?" And I'm like, "Isn't it the same candle?" I don't know if that's age or me not being observant. But just things that she cares about, I maybe would have cared about 20 years ago, but I don't as much anymore. So that can be kind of interesting and trying. But I mean, I think it's awesome to have siblings that much younger, and you kind of get to relive your youth. We're planning a bachelorette party, and I've had to tell her, like, listen, the old lady may not go out both nights of the trip. Like, this might have to stay in the second night and get some sleep.
A lot of late night activity.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not sure if I can do that. So we'll just have a chill night, and you youngsters can go out and rip
What
it
about
up.
like spa day? That would be cool, right? A spa day
Yeah, we're going to
brunch.
Vegas, or no, Nashville. We're doing the Nashville
Oh,
thing.
that'll be so fun. That would
It
be
will be fun and exhausting, and fun and exhausting.
try to plan, like stagger it, like do the spa day the next day and like, maybe brunch after like the night out.
Nap. One of the girls, I had a girl come to my studio the other day for a makeup lesson with some other friends, and they were gonna have mimosas, and they're into their 30s. I think one of them might have been in her 40s. But anyway, the one girl brings in coconut water and charcoal pills. Have you heard this? Okay.
No.
So apparently, it was morning and brunch time. They were going to make mimosas, but then they were planning on continuing. Like, then they were going to go to lunch, and then they were going to do something later, and they were going to plan a nap, and then they were going to do dinner. So it was going to be like this day, all day long. I'm like,
A
oh gosh,
marathon.
a marathon of hanging out and having a good time, starting in the morning, doing some makeup and mimosas. And I was like, so what's the charcoal pills? And they're like, oh, you just take them all day and it keeps your hangover down. Like, I don't know if you take them all day, but you take it in the morning and it like helps absorb the alcohol or something. And I was like, are you sure?
That is so weird. I've not
Yeah.
heard of that one before.
No, me either. And I was saying like, well, see, I wouldn't make it past 10 o'clock. So I would just go to bed at 10. I wouldn't make it past 4. What am I kidding? But anyway, I would just go to bed and then sleep in, and then I'd be fine later. I don't know.
Like, seems like I don't know, that's like so crazy to me. Like they're taking charcoal.
Yeah. I mean, I guess good for you for making sure that your Sunday wasn't terrible. Whatever, but it was just like, I actually wrote it down, like wrote the brand and stuff down. Cause I was like, well, I feel like maybe I should have this for this bachelorette party for my little sister.
Yeah, that's true.
Make it I don't know. I don't know. I don't make it like I used to.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to, before we close this up, after too long here, I want to, what do you said that you applying to speak at conferences, you really wanted to help somebody else. So where does that feeling come from? Did you feel like within your story, you were very alone through the process of what you're going to share? We're not going to give away too many details here, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think in general, there's kind kind of this like expectation for women, especially I think, but men too, to kind of have the appearance of having it all together, especially if you're successful or you want to be successful. And I think, and I especially love the theme of this conference, Vulnerable You, because it, being vulnerable is, as a leader, there's kind of like this misconception that you can't be vulnerable or honest or not honest but authentic. And I think real leaders are vulnerable and authentic, and you can connect with people in so much more of a deeper level and a deeper way. And I think that there's kind of this, again, like misconception that women have to be perfect, you have to be able to do it all, and just look so well put together. And I think the more that we are vulnerable and honest, and just we tell our stories, and I think this past year we've all been through trauma, but in our lives, many of us have been through trauma. And I think just sharing that with other people, and sharing our stories can help empower other people. It can help you feel like you're not alone to hear someone else, and especially someone who you view as successful or a leader in the community, or whatever. Saying like, I had a really hard time and I've struggled, but I didn't let that define me. Just basically helping people feel like they're not alone, and and you can overcome what you've
Yeah.
gone
I think one
through.
of the things that a lot of people misconstrue is, women that, seem, like you said, put together, for example. Like today, I am very put together. Tomorrow, I could be on this podcast in a ball cap. And,
You would still look gorgeous.
well, I mean, I think it's fine. Thank God for filters or whatever it is that the Zoom camera does. I'm a big fan of whatever it does. Uh, but like I get a lot of comments from people that tell me, when, especially if we've never met in person and we've only met through online things, and they'll say, oh, you're exactly the same in person as you are online, and almost in a surprised voice. And I really think that is because a lot of our leadership, we have found leadership celebrities, people that we look up to, when you do get to meet them or have an experience with them, it's oftentimes disappointing, because you're like, well, they weren't what I thought they were. They weren't the same as that. So, I mean, I think there's a level of, like, being put together doesn't necessarily mean you're all the way put together, but that just being authentic to who you are, which means some days it's rose gold, sparkly, dangly earrings and all the makeup, and some days it's a ball cap and sweats, but either way, it's the same person, and I think, for you having such a, like you said, a forward facing role, at a sales role, a role that, you have to meet with people in person, and those first impressions mean everything. And so, that conception that, oh, well, Jessica always looks great. Her life must just be perfect, rainbows and unicorns all the time. We do think that of people, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely. And just, I don't know, it's just so hard to like really connect with someone when they or you are not able to feel comfortable enough to just be your true self. And I think
Yeah.
that those, I mean, when we are able to kind of pull back that perception, and really get to know people, I think that those relationships are a lot more, they're deeper, they're more meaningful, and just life is better that way.
Well, and the trust is built with people when you're able to connect with them. And it doesn't really matter what you're doing or what you're selling or what you're providing, but you're so much likely to do business with somebody that you trust, with somebody that is a human being, that they're not gonna, hold you to some sort of impossible standard. And whether it's doing business, working and being employed by them, being a part of their event, promoting something for them, or helping them get the word out about something. I mean, all of that ties in. And I think, talking about what Centersphere does too on top of it, is it's just reaffirmation that connecting with somebody is super meaningful. I mean, I think sometimes we put too little of an emphasis on, like, what connecting with people really means. The old boys club of, like, oh, meet my buddy, he sells insurance and he'll hook you up. Like, we're done with that. That's not it
Yeah.
anymore.
That's so true. And I just think this last year too has really like brought that, if anything, like it's made it more important, at least for me, just, human connection is so important. And, I can't, I mean, it just, some parts of this year have just like killed me inside because it's like, oh my gosh, I just really miss like being able to come together with, large groups of people and meet new people. And, like, it's been really
Have a
tough.
cup of coffee, chat, all of that. Yeah.
And I know
Have
that a
you?
lot of introverts are probably like, thank goodness. I love this year from that perspective.
It's funny because I'm certainly an extroverted person, but for whatever reason, the pandemic hasn't, I mean, it's affected me, don't get me wrong, in different ways. I think though I was so close to a burnout before the pandemic. I was traveling sometimes 2 weeks a month, and I was getting to see beautiful parts of the world, beautiful parts of, the country, traveling all the time. It looked
Glamorous.
very, yeah, yeah. And it was fun. And I was meeting people. But I think I wonder if not for the pandemic, what kind of breakdown I would have had, frankly. Um,
Well, sometimes you don't even realize how stretched thin you are because we were going from literally like, I mean, I look and I'm like, how did I have all of that fit into one day? Like, what am I going to do again when we go back to like, the kids' activities and the things that we were doing before on top of work? And oh my gosh, like it's, I don't know, like that was one of the great things I think about this last year is life did slow down. And I think that we learned to, kind of like look at what is more important, where am I really getting the most um, quality time, value out of my time, if you have to choose. And I don't know, I think so. There are definitely good things that have happened this year, for
Yeah,
sure.
I learned that a lot of the networking that I was doing, a lot of the things I thought I had to show my face at all the time, maybe I didn't have to be at in person all the time. Like I love the idea of moving to hybrid type events, for some networking things, or our Center Sphere chapter was talking about perhaps changing where we meet on Zoom weekly, but maybe in person monthly or something along those lines. That it doesn't have to look like it did before. And we don't have to kill ourselves to make what worked before work. And there's some volunteer stuff that I do. One of the volunteer meetings that I am a part of, there's a monthly meeting. It's a 2-hour meeting. And then, but it's a 2-hour meeting. And then it's, I have to leave 45 minutes before the meeting. And then there's the socializing before, and then I have to, it's a half an hour home. And then there's the chat and stuff. So it's like half a day for a meeting that should last 2 hours. And now when it's a 2-hour meeting on Zoom, it actually ends up being 90 minutes. It saves me a lot. So I'm looking forward to making some adjustments to my time, maybe honoring my own schedule and not doing so much of that chit chat that really wasn't getting me anywhere anyway. But I do miss like sitting down with people, having a cup of coffee, a drink, a meal. Like the masks don't bother me, but man, I can't hear anybody with them on. They're not on my ears, but why can't I hear you when you have a mask on? I must be reading lips nonstop.
I do think it matters though. Like I noticed when I have issues with glasses and contacts and all of this, and when I don't have my contacts in, I can't hear as well because I can't see your mouth moving. And if
It's
you
true.
have a mask on, then it's just I'm basically deaf because
I constantly like, what did you say? Like, I heard you, but I don't hear you. And then I'm like, do I need, I mean, I wear glasses, like, so do I actually need hearing aids as well? I don't know. I'm really realizing how much of our senses we use when that mask
they
is there. Cause
completely interact with each other. Absolutely.
yeah, I'm like, why does my vision affect my hearing and ability to speak? Yeah, that's weird. And then, I think I have to yell at everybody now, like, telling
Oh my
people what I
gosh.
want. But I have been impressed with our community and the ability to try to open up some of these in-person events. I mean, I can't tell you how many people, I mean, you were one of them that said, thanks for being brave and doing this. And I was like, I don't feel brave about the conference in person. I feel like I'm proud to give people the option, but I also, don't want to have to deal with the responsibility of not being responsible. You know, I don't want to deal with the repercussions of not being responsible.
Well,
So,
I mean, I think honestly, I think it takes a lot of courage because, right now, I mean, it's, we're kind of getting to that point where we can start doing things live and in person again, but I mean, you have a lot to navigate. There's a lot more going on. It's not like, I mean, before putting on a conference was already a lot to navigate, right? And now you're putting, not only are you doing it in person, but you also have a virtual aspect. That's two totally different aspects in addition to at the in-person. It's not like you just show up and do your thing. I mean, there are all the social distancing guidelines and safety precautions in place that weren't there before. So, I mean, yeah, I think that takes a lot of courage. Yeah.
it is a lot of balls in the air to manage. It's a lot of stuff that I didn't, I'm really interested to see our budget when it's done and how much we spent on social distancing protocols. And like, I have worked into my talk about how, next year, I don't anticipate having any, social distancing protocols in place. Like, I'm just going to say it, it's not going to happen by March of next year. We will be fine by then. I'm convinced. But I think I said the night before, we're going to pick a place to have our, cocktail, mocktail, art project the night before the party or party before the conference that we do. And I am going to have a mask burning party there. We're going to have a bonfire, and everybody's going to bring their masks. We bought masks for people, like really nice. Why is this a thing? I know the difference between a nice mask and a crappy mask.
Are they bedazzled?
No, but you can bedazzle them if you want to. We thought about it.
Is that the art project?
No, but that would have been great too. We actually thought about that, but I thought, who wants that right now? I mean, we're over it. Last year, maybe we could have done an art project with bedazzling a mask, but now people are like, no.
It could be a burn your mask art project.
Yeah, burn your mask. Yeah, get some sage. Throw it all.
Well, count me in for that. So
yeah, I could not have anticipated for real how much people wanted an in-person event. I mean, they have been clamoring to get into that in-person.
Well, you sold out like immediately for the in-person.
Yeah, we were shocked. It happened so fast. All of a sudden people were like, oh, yep, I'm going. And then right after we sold out, then the governor lifted the state's mask mandate. And I was like, well, now I don't know what to do.
Oh yeah, this makes things awkward.
The city kept theirs. And I mean, honestly, it was the only thing I wanted as a business owner. Like, I really don't have a lot of feelings about what anybody does with masks or their opinions or whatever. I don't care enough about anybody else's thoughts, and I'm happy to have my own, and I don't need you to have my thoughts. But as a business owner and trying to have an event, I just wanted to say, hey, this isn't my decision. This is the state's decision or the city's decision or the county's decision.
Or
I
the
have no choice.
venue. I mean, at the end of the day, doesn't it kind of come down to the venue? You have to follow their whatever they have in place.
Yes. But thankfully the cities made that decision even for the venue. So like where I live, I live in a smaller town, there's no mask mandate. So it's up to the business owner, and each individual business owner makes their own decisions, which makes the people difficult to work with, because they're like, well, when I was at the hair salon, I had to wear a mask, but when I was at the bar, I didn't have to wear a mask. And then I went to the post office and I had to, and then I went to the gas station and I didn't. So, like people get all like, and that's what I didn't want to do. I just wanted to blame it on somebody else.
There you go.
But aren't you glad though, at, working in event coordinating and, it's so much more venue management that, that you didn't have to try to navigate that? Do you feel like?
I mean, I was amazed at, since I've been on, Furloughed and Let Go, they have been able to do events they put together. I was so impressed with this whole return to live protocol for the venues. And I mean, I think it's on their website. You can read it all, every single thing that they're doing for safety precautions. I don't know if you've been to an event at like the Paramount, or they've had several at the arena as well. And so what they're doing is they're selling tickets in pods. And so you sit with your party, whether it's 2, 4, 6, whatever, and then there's space between you and other seated attendees. Now, obviously, I think the only reason that they can do this is because they're city-owned venues. If it was for profit, then that wouldn't work so well. But the city has an interest in making sure that, our economy is vibrant and, bringing people back, to the downtown spaces and things like that. So they have an interest in having these events, whether they're profitable or not. And so, and there are, quite a few performing artists who really want to get out there and perform. So, so they're able to have performers and have these events, and they don't look the same as they did. I think that they will continue to, as numbers go down and guidelines are social distancing guidelines are relaxed. They'll continue to hopefully have the audiences build back up again. But for now, they're limited capacity. And that sort of thing. But I've been so impressed. I have attended an event at the Paramount Theater, and I was so impressed with all the guidelines, and just I never felt unsafe there. Everything was. They just did a really good job with cleanliness and safety, and I'm really impressed by. But yeah, that's a lot to navigate, especially with like you have. So they have like their core team of full-time staff, and those people are working like full-time during the day, like office hours. But they also go and work the events as well. Yeah. So, you have the director of finance. He may be the person holding the door for you as you walk in. You have, the director of marketing, and she might be helping you find your seat. Like they all stay for these events and help ensure that they go smoothly. Along with them, they bring on part-time staff people as well to work. But so they've been through a lot this year and working really hard, especially with the reduced team. Our marketing team was a team of 3 before, and now it's 1.
Yeah, I did go to an event at the Paramount, and they did do an amazing job. It like you said, it was very comfortable. It didn't feel awful once you got in your pod or your seat. You take off your mask and enjoy the show and enjoy a drink or whatever. And then I got to be involved with Elizabeth Von Presley's event that she's doing through TCR, through Theater Cedar Rapids, which is a virtual concert. And I'm telling you, I have never, I'm like forcing my children. I don't let them have sleepovers very often because when you have kids that also have a mom, then you could be like, well, you could do that at your mom's house. That sounds great. So they do most of their sleepovers at their mom's, but I'm like forcing them to have a sleepover to put this concert on our bigger screen television in our basement to like let them enjoy it, because it's going to be like, it'll be like watching music videos on MTV from like the 90s, like the like maybe the 80s, when before the TV show, like where it's just fun to watch music and like get into it. So
She's amazing. That was actually the show I saw at the Paramount, was her holiday show.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
And it was really good. And you can tell like they haven't had the opportunities like they had before to perform. So it meant that much more to the performers. And then as someone who appreciates live music, like for us to be able to go to a live performance, yes, the whole experience wasn't quite what it used to be, but it did mean so much more to actually be able to be there and experience that. And you could tell every single person on the stage was so happy to be there. But yeah, that's amazing. I was super excited to hear her.
When we did the show that's coming up here at the end of March, when we were filming it, everybody was so easy to work with, happy to be there. Like that, we worked from like 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning or something until 10:30 at night. We were there all day, and everybody just had a great time. They just missed their work so much. And you said you had a fear of public speaking. I definitely don't have that, but like I could never do what any of these people do. They get up and move their bodies on a stage like that.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So that freaks me out. Well, anyway, I will let you get on with your day. I want to thank you for being part of this podcast and for being a part of the conference. And, it really means a lot to me as a entrepreneur, somebody that's working with businesses, though, that you really find value in this conference and what we have to bring, because we really do want to spread that message that it's, you don't have to fit a certain criteria to attend and enjoy it and to learn from it. So
absolutely. No, I've attended the last 2 virtually. I signed up for the first one before the pandemic, but I ended up attending that one virtually, and then the last one that you just did, and I mean, yeah, it's awesome. It's been I'm just so impressed by what a great job you've done with the virtual aspect. So I'm really excited to be there in person. But yeah, just I mean, honestly, like so much respect for you and everything you've been able to accomplish this year, and really like it means so much that you give women in our community the opportunity to have a voice and be on a stage who maybe otherwise wouldn't. And so thank you for that because you're really empowering women in our community and it makes a big difference. So thank you for all you
Yeah,
do.
thank you. Those small stages, as I will call it is no small stage because I know what it costs to put it together, and it is not little. So I will just say that even virtually. But those glitter backdrops are worth every penny. But I will say that, that was one of the problems I had as somebody that is a public speaker, wants to have more opportunities, is that they're just it doesn't exist. There's, the big stages bring in all these big people from outside of the community. And I'm like, no, I want to hear from the people that live here. I want to see the people on that stage at my next networking meeting. Like the next 1 million cups I go to, I want to run into some of these people that were on the stage and that were giving a piece of them to the community. That's the people I want to have on our stage. Not that there's anything wrong with the bigger stages. There's room for places, things like Women Lead Change and Beyond Rubies and the other types of conferences that bring in other speakers. But I was like, I want a truly like hometown event that then like and eventually I want to be able to duplicate it in other places. But
Well, and it's more
once
than an event. I feel like you're building community. I mean, there are a lot more connections that are made and more that's happening behind the scenes with the attendees, I feel like. I mean, I feel like it's more than you're going to this conference and you're getting, these tools and the support and then you're leaving. I feel like you really are building a community with you conferences. So
Thanks.
thank
I'm
you.
excited to see where it goes next. It's going to be cool. I'm chomping at the bit to fast forward, but yet again, I don't, you don't want to. You got to go through what you need to go through to get to where you're going, right? So, all right. I will let you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me. You have a great night as
You
well.
too.